It was a bright evening in Los Angeles. The crowd outside the America's Got Talent theater buzzed with energy. Families stood in line, holding tickets, chatting excitedly. Cameras rolled, lights shimmered, and somewhere behind the stage curtain, a young man from the Philippines named Miguel Santos took a deep breath. He wasn't dressed like Elvis Presley. No jumpsuit, no golden belt, no flashy glasses. Just a simple white shirt, black jeans, and a pair of shoes his mother had polished for him before he left Manila. Miguel's hands trembled slightly as he held the microphone. For him, this wasn't just another talent show. It was a dream he had carried across the ocean, wrapped in the memory of his late father, the man who had taught him to love music, and who had spent nights singing Elvis songs to him when he was a little boy. His father had passed away 2 years ago. Since then, Miguel had promised himself that one day, he'd make his dad proud. And tonight, standing on the biggest stage in the world, he whispered quietly to himself, "This one's for you, Papa." The stage lights dimmed. The AGT logo glowed on the screen behind him. The judges sat waiting. Simon Cowell with his usual unreadable face, Sofia Vergara smiling brightly, Heidi Klum adjusting her seat, and Howie Mandel giving Miguel a thumbs up. Simon leaned forward, microphone in hand. "Hello there, what's your name?" Miguel cleared his throat. "My name is Miguel Santos. I'm from the Philippines." "How old are you, Miguel?" Simon asked. "I'm 27, Miguel replied softly. "What brought you here today?" Miguel hesitated. "I came to sing. But mostly, to share a piece of my heart. My father loved Elvis Presley. We used to sing together when I was a kid. I lost him 2 years ago, but every time I sing Elvis, it feels like he's still here." The audience fell silent. Even Simon's usual smirk softened into something gentler. "Okay, Miguel," Simon said. "Let's hear it." The first guitar chord echoed through the hall, "Can't Help Falling in Love." And then, Miguel began to sing. The moment his voice touched the air, something magical happened. The tone, the warmth, the tenderness, it was hauntingly familiar. It wasn't an imitation, it was a feeling. Deep, soulful, and raw. Like Elvis himself had been reborn. Not in body, but in spirit, through this humble young man from the Philippines. The audience froze. Some gasped. Others leaned forward, eyes wide. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was connection. Miguel sang each line like a prayer, his voice carrying years of longing, love, and pain. Wise men say, only fools rush in. People began to cry quietly. Heidi clasped her hands to her heart. Sophia whispered, "Oh my God," under her breath. Simon didn't move. His eyes, sharp and calculating, softened as if he was remembering something, maybe the first time he ever heard Elvis himself. As Miguel reached the final verse, his voice trembled with emotion. "Take my hand, take my whole life too." And then he closed his eyes, letting the last note linger, pure, clean, timeless. The theater erupted. The audience rose to their feet in an instant, clapping, cheering, shouting his name. Miguel's eyes filled with tears. He bowed deeply, his hands shaking. Howie leaned forward. "Wow. Wow. You just brought Elvis back, man. That was, wow." Heidi nodded. It didn't feel like an impression. It felt spiritual. Sophia smiled warmly. "You have a beautiful soul, Miguel. I felt your love for your father in every note." Simon took a long pause. The crowd went quiet again, waiting for his words. "Miguel," he said finally, "I've heard hundreds of Elvis tributes. But what you did wasn't a tribute, it was a resurrection of something we've all missed. You didn't copy him. You reminded us why Elvis mattered." The audience cheered again, louder this time. Miguel's tears streamed down his face. Simon continued, "And you know what? It's not just your voice. It's your heart. That's what makes legends live on." The crowd began chanting, "Golden buzzer. Golden buzzer." Miguel stood frozen, overwhelmed, unsure of what to expect. Then Simon looked at the other judges, nodded slightly, and pressed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti exploded from above, showering Miguel in a storm of shining light. He covered his face, crying, laughing, trembling. It was more than a dream come true, it was a moment that transcended time. As the music swelled and confetti fell, Miguel looked up at the ceiling, whispering to his father again, "We did it, Papa." The show cut to a break. Backstage, Terry Crews hugged him tightly. "Brother, that was unreal. How did you channel that voice?" Miguel smiled through tears. "It's not me, it's love. My dad used to say that love never dies, it just finds new songs to live in." Terry nodded, visibly moved. That night, social media exploded. Clips of Miguel's performance spread like wildfire. The video hit 1 million views in a few hours, then 10 million by morning. People from around the world commented, "This guy isn't imitating Elvis, he's channeling his soul. I cried the moment he started singing. It's like Elvis found a home in this man's heart. A Filipino Elvis. No, he's Miguel, the man who made the King's spirit live again." News outlets called him the heart of Elvis. Radio stations replayed his performance. Even Lisa Marie Presley's fan groups posted about him, saying his voice brought back memories they thought were lost forever. Weeks passed, and Miguel's life changed overnight. He performed again in the semifinals, singing If I Can Dream. Once again, he left everyone speechless. But behind the fame, Miguel stayed humble. He donated part of his earnings to music schools for underprivileged kids in the Philippines. He said he wanted every child to have a chance to discover their voice, just like he did. One night, after a long rehearsal, he sat alone in his small apartment. The city lights twinkled outside his window. On the table was an old photograph of his father, holding a guitar. Miguel whispered softly, "Dad, I hope you're proud." In that quiet room, a soft breeze brushed across his cheek, though the window was closed. He smiled faintly, feeling a warmth in his chest. It wasn't mystical, it was love. The kind that travels through generations, through music, through memory. At the AGT finale, Miguel didn't win the grand prize. But he won something far greater, the world's heart. When he sang Love Me Tender for the last time, the audience lit up the entire theater with their phone flashlights, swaying to the rhythm. After his final bow, Simon stood and said, "You reminded us tonight that music isn't about fame. It's about connection. You carried Elvis's voice, but you sang with your own soul. And that's something no one can ever copy." Miguel smiled, bowed again, and walked off stage. Backstage, reporters asked how it felt to be called the return of Elvis. He laughed softly. "Elvis never left. He lives in every person who sings with love." Months later, when Miguel returned home to the Philippines, thousands of people welcomed him at the airport. Old men with guitars, young kids holding handmade signs, and mothers wiping tears. A little boy approached him shyly and said, "Kuya Miguel, can you teach me how to sing like you?" Miguel knelt down and smiled. "Don't sing like me, sing like you. That's how music keeps the world alive." That evening, he visited his father's grave. The sun was setting, painting the sky gold. He placed a small radio beside the headstone and played "Can't Help Falling in Love." For a moment, he just stood there, eyes closed, listening. And though the world would always remember him as the Filipino Elvis, Miguel knew the truth. He wasn't a reincarnation. He was a reminder that the soul of music never dies. It simply finds a new voice when the world needs it most. As the song played softly through the breeze, Miguel whispered one last time, "Thank you, Papa. Thank you, Elvis." And somewhere, in the echo of that fading melody, it felt like both of them were smiling back. Because sometimes, legends don't return in grand miracles. Sometimes, they live again, in a single, honest song. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe, share, and keep believing in the power of love, kindness, and music. Because sometimes, one voice can carry the soul of 1,000 hearts.